Unpeeled thanks to 3dprint.com. Today, we're going to talk about 3D printed pharmaceuticals. We're going to talk about Speed 3D supplying Ukraine with 3D printers for the front lines. And we're also going to be talking about Stratasys selling a part of a business unit, which may or may not mean something for the future. First off, Aprecia, which is a pharmaceuticals company that is doing precision drug delivery with binder jetting. So they're binder jetting pills. They're binder jetting freeform tablets. They're binder jetting the tablets inside of blisters, and they're just generally using more of a compounding kind of method via binder jetting that'll let them mix medicines. Now, of course, personalized medicine via 3D printing is something. There's very few startups. There's FabRx, I think. There's Craft Health. There's a couple of startups, like a handful maybe, making this happen. There's only one medicine that's been approved right now, but the potential is huge because what do these guys hope to do? Maybe my medicine is different than your medicine because we have different weights, or we have different metabolic systems, or I'm a different time in my illness, or a bit different severity. The idea of us all having one pill for adults or two pills for adults, one pill for children is of course a very, very primitive concept, and everyone generally believes that if we could just personalize medicine for giving everyone a pill for their weight or for whatever other characteristics, we'll get more accurate medicine. Now, just because that sounds logical doesn't necessarily mean it makes a whole lot of difference. Maybe for a lot of things, this difference isn't really important, or maybe it'll be very difficult to get regulatory approval or do this safely. We don't know that kind of thing, but it's an interesting area. Now, what is also something that is notable is that what Aprecia has done for the last couple of years, since July in 2021, is work with Batelle. Batelle is a U.S. lab that does a lot of things in the U.S. development of medicine for all sorts of uses, and warfare included, and all sorts of other national lab type of things. And they've worked with it. And Battelle's essentially worked with them as kind of a systems integrator to develop the software, the mechanics, and a lot of the physics, if you will, of their machine. So this is something that maybe companies can take note of. Oak Ridge is doing work like this as well. You can go to a U.S. national lab, which has formidable talent and formidable resources that we can't even imagine if you're from another country. And you could go to these labs and you can say, you know what, we could work with together, not on blue sky new technologies, but on essentially systems integration tasks around my machine, making my actual machine go. So this is great news for Aprecia Pharmaceutical that's doing this binder jet of pills and and it seems to be a really, really intelligent move on their part that maybe a lot of other companies can do as well. So this is something that I thought was very notable. The other thing I think is notable is, this is by the way, the Aprecia, one of their production processes. The other thing I think is notable is from Australian firm Speed 3D. So Speed 3D has a cold spray 3D printers. They've containerized these, which you can see in the picture. Cold spray is a process whereby they kind of in a high speed shoot particles at an object. The object is then turned. This ends up having a machine that has a really, really formidable laydown of powder, can make up to 20 tons of parts a year, one machine. These parts are, not the really delicate, lots of little kind of holes and filigrees and all sorts of fine structures that we're used to from powder bed. But for a lot of tools, for a lot of not so intricate parts, this is a really cheap technology that can, in a really robust kind of way, make relatively simple things in very forward deployed areas. So Speed has sold around, we think, about 6 machines through the United States of America to Ukraine. And now it is going to sell, it has told us that it's going to sell additional machines through Australia to Ukraine. This means these machines will become very forward deployed and become used in Ukraine for when things break at the front, close to the front lines, and also maybe to do iterative improvements, maybe to improve a certain thing just slightly as per the conditions or as per this battle is unfolding. This is huge news for Speed because this company is kind of isolated, doing this little thing in Australia, didn't have that much sales. All of a sudden, there's one country that's at war and is buying, more than 6 printers, which is for Speed a significant amount of revenue and also significant engagement. Now, if they pull this off, then the company that should probably start publishing its manuals in English or in Ukrainian before English at this point. Then that company could really find itself shipping a lot of business to a lot of countries that think, oh, wait, if I'm in war, Things are going to get broken. I'm going to want to improve myself as per the unfolding conditions, and this could be the printer to do the trick. It's fantastic for the company. Also, we should realize that there's a lot of ethical implications now. All of a sudden, if we start working with that kind of forward deployed, and also like today, it's literally kind of also geopolitics is a bit of a minefield. Do you supply to China? I think not. Do you supply to other countries? Well, it depends on who approves of those countries or not. So this could be a really geopolitically quite the minefield. And then maybe being in Australia, so far away from everything, could be an advantage because Australia is a big resource intensive country, supplies a lot of countries with like things like iron ore and stuff, wants to be kind of friends with everyone. And there's kind of a realistic stance towards China and other countries. So that kind of political stance could be really kind of very advantageous for speed. So yeah, we'll see if that works out for them. The next news comes to us from Stratasys. Now, quite surprisingly, I thought Stratasys has sold one of its 3D printing facilities. Now, Stratasys started Red Eye very, very long time ago, overnight kind of 3D printing service, first using its own machines, later on using a lot of EOS machines, using metal machines like Velo 3D machines and stuff like that. And I thought it was brilliant because they're getting money for this stuff, and they were allowed to, they were able to benchmark their own technology versus EOS technology essentially for free, right? They were able to kind of launch its own soft technology to customers and sell the parts and test them internally and learn how to improve the machine. They would also be able to test new materials and stuff like this and find out what customer demand was in a service environment before making a special machine for like peak or whatever special material. So I thought this was a really, really unique thing. But after a couple of years ago, 3D Systems sold its service unit. It kept the services for medical implants, but it got rid of just the regular service unit to, I think it's Proto Labs. And now it seems like Stratasys is doing this as well. But rather than like doing this in one big kind of effort or two big efforts like 3D Systems, Stratasys is kind of selling it piecemeal and kind of streamlining it piecemeal. Like Michael wrote an article for 3dprint.com. He tallied up to saying that a couple of years ago, Stratasys Direct had 9 sites across the US and one in China. Now, it's got maybe 4, maybe 5 sites, depending on what you count. And so it seems really definitely to be streamlining this business. Now, is it getting rid of some of the business? Is it going to get rid of eventually every quarter one, let's say? Or is it, is it just a one-time thing, and then is it going to continue on with the remainder of the business? We don't know right now if this is a quarterly motivated end of the year kind of financial thing, or if this is like a strategic thing, or is a portent to them getting out of the service business entirely. We don't know, but I think it's an interesting move. Now, what's also is notable is that they got acquired by Cumberland Additive. So Cumberland Additive is not one of the big consolidators that are buying up every left, right, and center, all these things, but it's a service business. And, this means that Cumberland really sees a future into expanding geographically across the United States of America and expanding into the business that Stratasys used to have with Stratasys Direct. So, like I said, Stratasys still remains with Stratasys Direct. It's still an offering as far as we know, and we don't know what it means for the future of the company. But I thought this was like kind of a move to puzzle over a little bit as you maybe drive home from work or something. Is this a permanent thing, or is this just a temporary kind of blip for the company? We don't know. My name is Joris Peels. I hope you enjoyed this. This was 3D Printing News Unpeeled. Thanks to 3dprint.com. You have a great day.